What's going on today, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is my 1988 Mazda B2200. This vehicle hasn't ran in 21 years. Part of the reason why it hasn't ran is because of the factory carburetor. It's a mess, a lot of vacuum hoses, not fun. This is everything we have to get this vehicle running today. Hopefully. The key thing is actually this Red Bull, because I'm gonna need it. All right, the first thing I'm gonna be doing is just removing this entire rat's nest of vacuum hoses and just getting the stock carburetor free so we can take it out. We're gonna trace everything it connects to, and 90% of this is gonna get deleted. All those are just to control the factory carburetor. It's gonna clean up this engine bay a tremendous amount, so let's jump into it. So we got everything disconnected from the carb. Everything is nice and loose. I'm going to crack the bolts and I'll be pulling the carb off. The moment we've all been waiting for. Oh, she's all crusty. You can see the difference in complexity between these two carburetors. The factory carburetor is so complex with so many different solenoids and vacuum hoses because it was the late 80s. Emissions became a big thing, and maintenance, it wasn't like back in the day when you were adjusting your own valves. You were doing everything yourself as a consumer, right? This one has barometric everything. It has altitude, it has temperature, coolant temp sensors, it has a whole ECU just to run the carburetor. This is when fuel injection was becoming a thing. 3 years later, this truck actually came fuel injected. So this was Mazda's attempt at making a carburetor not run like a carburetor, basically. And I don't want anything falling into the intake. I can start taking out all this extra stuff. I'm literally gonna count all of these. I am so shocked by how many vacuum hoses they even managed to put in this engine. All we really need to keep is this fuse block right here and these 3 solenoids. All right, so now I'm gonna take off the EGR valve. We're gonna have to make a plate to cover that when we're done so that we don't have a massive vacuum leak. We'll just use a piece of metal, trace the shape, cut it out. By the way, EGR stands for exhaust gas recirculation. It is a emissions thing that reburns old fuel, or leftover fuel, I should say. So this is what we'll have to make a plate for so that we can block it off. So now we're gonna get a razor blade and we're gonna clean up the face of the EGR so that when we make the plate, slap it on, we get a good seal. We'll also be using some gasket sealer too. Gotta be careful too. You don't wanna gouge the surface or anything. We just wanna take the top layer off. Now we're gonna take the original gasket that was here. We're gonna trace it onto some metal, cut it out, clean it up, and then we'll be able to drill out some holes. This is just some 16 gauge sheet steel. Ideally, I would use thicker steel, but this is really all I have right now, so it'll do. And we'll try lining up the holes. Should be good. We got the basic shape down and should be good. We'll clean it up and seal it on there. I do want to paint one of the sides, but I don't have any high temp paint, so I'm gonna skip that for now and I'll go back and paint it later. I think I'm gonna use the gasket because I think it'll help at least a little bit. Permatex gasket sealer, high tack. It's very tacky, actually. Gotta be careful. You'll get strings of this stuff everywhere. You don't want to crank these down too tight, just enough for them to be snug and confident that it's not going to go anywhere. All right, since my buddy borrowed my drill, I got to wait to drill these holes out. So the next thing that I'm going to do is actually take these studs out. Now we're going to get a new razor blade and clean up the actual mating surface for the adapter on top. Want to leave your rag in there so you don't end up getting, you know, random gasket material everywhere. It's important to get this really clean because if not, you'll end up having a vacuum leak and then you'll never be able to tune the carb right to actually run like you would want it to run. We can throw some high tack on this, put the paper gasket on, throw some high tack on that, then we can put the first adapter on. And this is the first piece to our adapter. And we can get this gasket down. But first, we have to take our studs and thread them in. All right, and one more time, and we'll bolt the carburetor on. Congratulations if you made it this far in the video, because there's 32 vacuum hoses that are connected to the OEM carburetor. That is absolutely ridiculous. All right, this is our last paper gasket. Make sure the big side goes on the right. You don't actually want to use any sealer on the top of this gasket that connects to the carb because of how it's designed with the ridges that are cut into the mating surface on the bottom of the carb. So you don't actually have to worry about it. Definitely looks good compared to the old carb. But what's really cool is that not that much stuff actually connects to this. Not anything like the other carb. So this is gonna be a lot cleaner. Hook up the throttle cable. We'll start messing with the fuel after that. There we go. And we'll adjust the throttle cable as needed. This will go in the intake manifold. So we can click this on and connect that to the throttle so that it closes when we let off the throttle. There we go. Let's go see how that throttle feels now. Awesome. All right, so now that the carb is on the vehicle, looks great. I noticed all the oil leaking out of the valve cover. So I got a valve cover gasket. We're gonna take off the valve cover. We're gonna replace the gasket just so it can stop leaking everywhere. All right, we'll take a clean microfiber, cover the intake so we're not getting any crud in there. And I'm gonna throw some fresh oil in there. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw some fresh oil in there. I'm going to run it for a little bit. Then I'm gonna drain the oil out just to help use the detergent from the oil to get all of the, you know, crud and whatever's built up inside the engine from so many years of use and clean out the engine. And now a quick word from today's sponsor. Nah, I'm just joking. I only have like 35 subscribers. All right, let's see if she's free. Yeah, she's a little used. A little bit. Not terrible though, I've definitely seen worse. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of varnish in there. Now, while I'm in here, I'm also gonna change the mechanical fuel pump too. That is this guy right over here. I'm gonna throw that over just so I don't drop anything in the motor. We're gonna leave this one threaded in just a little bit though, so I can take these fuel hoses off. And there we go. I don't actually know if I got enough fuel hose, so we're gonna find out. And there's the old fuel pump. Here is our new fuel pump and our new gaskets with the spacer that I'm reusing. Okay, so now I'm gonna take a razor blade, clean up the surface for the mating surface for the mechanical fuel pump. Yep, this glove is definitely getting thrown away. That's good. Now we'll hit this gasket. And there we go. Fuel pump is in. All right, and now we'll do the valve cover gasket. Now in the corners, we're gonna put some sealant. This one's blue for performance. All right, and there's the valve cover. So we have fuel lines running right here and one under it. And those are the ones that went to the factory fuel pump. And then this hose that comes off the back of the fuel pump goes right into the inlet for the fuel on the Weber. Here's our fuel filter. It's clear so that I can actually see if fuel is coming through or not. I should have got one more foot because this will be just enough to bring it to the fuel pressure or the fuel pump. So I am gonna reuse one of the lines only temporarily. The line's pretty cooked, but I'll use it just for the first startup. Then I'll make sure I get some more hose just to make sure, you know, fuel doesn't leak and whatnot, because I definitely don't really trust this line, that's for sure. I got all the fuel lines all hooked up, ready to go. Hose clamps in all of them, fuel filter. I also plugged all the vacuum ports that were on the intake. Plugged in my choke wire, the factory choke wire. I just had to crimp on a spade. And then my vacuum referenced ignition is running over to the vacuum ignition port. I am gonna redo this. I do want to get like actual nice lines. I don't want to reuse stuff. Clean everything up, make everything look good. But for the time being, because I really want to hear this engine run, I'm just going to reuse some stuff. I've been here a long time, man. Long time. I put a lot of effort into this. Now I got to change the oil. After we change the oil, change the filter, spent a lot of money and a lot of time. So I'm praying it runs. Oh, and I put the breather on too. So we'll leave that just like that. This oil is probably terribly gross, but I had to take a guess. And there we go. All of these excess wires and harnesses and whatnot, I will be deleting. I'm just not doing that just yet because that's a whole process in of itself. Well, nothing caught on fire so far. So this is actually the first time I ever had power hooked up to this truck. Never hooked up anything. Never ran, not while I owned it. I never even heard it run. So I don't know what to expect right now. Now, worth noting, I completely redid the fuel tank, fuel lines back here, pretty much everything. So I have to put fuel in here and the fuel has to travel, get sucked up, travel all through the lines, all the way to the carb. So it's gonna be cranking for quite some time. It's definitely not gonna fire up right away, I can tell you that. A lot of distance for that fuel to travel. All right, well, let's put some gas in it, see what happens, I guess. Everything seems good. I'm very nervous. Let's see if she starts. Nothing happened. Well, it's a new day. So, tried starting it, nothing happened. Nothing at all happened. To the point where I am kind of convinced it's the ignition cylinder lock. It is a common problem on these trucks. I thought about getting one. I just didn't think I'd need it for a first startup. Now we have to actually change it. Oh, all right, let's see if she'll fire. Ah, so close. Let's get a little bit of idle in it. Nice. This truck hasn't ran for 21 years. Didn't even smoke, I don't think. That ticking is the hydraulic lifters. They ran out of oil many years ago. So the oil has to get back into them so it stops ticking. Man, this is crazy. I'm so excited. We did it. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, that is so sweet. I know there's coolant in it, but I also know it hasn't sucked any coolant through the system in a while. So now I want to see if there's coolant sitting at the top. There's not. Oh, no, well, there's a little bit. Man, that's relieving. She runs. No, she runs pretty good. I'm gonna open this door and I'm gonna let her run for a little longer. We still have to tune the carb. There's still other things that I have to do with this truck before I can actually drive it. The exhaust looked great. We did it. She runs. So excited. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Appreciate it a lot. There's still a couple things I do want to do on this truck and something I want to show you. This exhaust right here has tubes coming out of it that go around to go back into the intake so it can re-burn some exhaust. And to solve that, we'll be installing this brand new pace setter exhaust. Very excited about this. It's gonna look sweet coming out of the engine, and it will clean up everything on the right side just like we did on the left side. Very excited about that. That will be in the next video, but probably be about a week or two, I'd imagine. I appreciate you guys sticking with me to hear this engine finally run, and I'll see you in the next video.